Today, when a central bank cuts interest rates, a select group is rescued. The citizen who can't pay off credit card debt is left alone. Is this a modern scandal? No. It's a 4,000-year-old system. Here is the shocking truth. Every tool we use today to save collapsing economies, debt forgiveness, interest controls, risk distribution, was carved into stone in Babylon in 1754 BCE by a king. And that king designed the system not for justice, but for survival. Money doesn't speak. History does. And the story of Hammurabi tells how money has always come before power. When you hear Hammurabi, what comes to mind? Revenge, brutality. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But here's the truth. Of the nearly 300 laws, most have nothing to do with murder, violence, or revenge. They are about loans, interest, defaults, collateral, wages, and contracts. Hammurabi was not a moral prophet. He was a system architect. And the system he built was not designed to make people good, but to make outcomes predictable. Because unpredictability kills economies. If no one knows who is responsible, trade stops, credit evaporates, people turn to violence. Hammurabi understood this. And his solution was simple: declare in advance who loses if something goes wrong. The moment responsibility is defined, behavior changes, incentives form, a system emerges. In ancient Mesopotamia, debt was not an abstract Excel spreadsheet. It was personal, immediate, deadly. A farmer borrowed seed. If the harvest failed, what happened? His land was taken. His children were taken as debt slaves. An entire family could be destroyed by a single bad season. This wasn't just a tragedy, it was systemic collapse. Debt-enslaved farmers don't grow grain. No grain means no taxes. Social order breaks down. Empires fall. Hammurabi's solution didn't come from compassion, but from risk management. Interest rates were capped. Debt slavery was made temporary. Not lifelong debts could be suspended after natural disasters. This wasn't mercy, it was strategy. Dead or enslaved farmers don't grow grain. And a king without grain doesn't remain king for long. The same logic operates in the modern era. What happened in 2008 when banks were collapsing? Bailouts, central bank interventions, interest rate cuts. Why? Because the system itself was at risk. Money doesn't speak. History does. And every time it says the same thing. The system protects itself, not individuals. Hammurabi's laws didn't care about intentions. They cared only about outcomes. If a builder constructed a house and it collapsed, killing the owner, the builder paid. If a merchant lost entrusted goods, he was responsible. If an agent failed to deliver, no excuses were accepted. This wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. When responsibility is clear, people price risk correctly. Builders build better. Merchants insure. Trade becomes safer. Not because people are better, but because they know the consequences in advance. Do you see the quiet genius here? Hammurabi didn't try to eliminate failure. He assigned it. Someone would always pay. And when people knew who that someone was, behavior changed. Modern finance calls this moral hazard. Hammurabi understood it 4,000 years ago, before the term even existed. If people aren't held accountable for consequences, they take reckless risks. And reckless risk spread across society means collapse. The law also fixed wages for specific types of labor. Ox drivers earn this much, surgeons that much, builders, shepherds, craftsmen. Wages were standardized. Why? Because it is fair? No. Because it reduced conflict. Every negotiation is friction. Every dispute is a potential collapse. Hammurabi's system removed uncertainty. Before you started work, you knew the value of your labor. You knew what you'd earn if things went well and what would happen if they didn't. Markets don't need kindness. They need consistency. Hammurabi wasn't trying to optimize happiness. He was trying to keep trade flowing. Consistency is the oil of commerce. It lowers transaction costs, prevents endless bargaining, stops disputes from turning violent. And here is where the romantic image of justice truly collapses. The rules were not equal. For the same offense, punishment differed by social class. Harm done to a noble produced different outcomes than harm done to a commoner. Financial responsibility flowed according to status. This wasn't hypocrisy, it was design. Elites were protected because they held land, capital, and political stability. Lower classes absorbed more risk because the system depended on it. This wasn't about justice, it was about preserving hierarchy. And this is the oldest financial rule of civilization. Systems don't just manage money. They decide who loses when things go wrong. Hammurabi made that decision explicit. He didn't hide it. He carved it in stone. 4,000 years stand between Babylon and modern economies. But the logic hasn't changed. Inflation isn't just rising prices. It's a silent redistribution of loss. It erodes savings, lightens debt burdens, transfers pain from debtors to holders of money. This mechanism didn't begin with modern fiat currency. It's the same logic as Hammurabi limiting interest and suspending debts after disasters. Don't destroy the productive base the financial system rests on. Reshape the rules so damage doesn't concentrate, it spreads. Central banks intervene in crises not because they love markets, but because unmanaged collapse is worse. Bankruptcy laws don't exist to reward failure. They exist to contain it. Money doesn't speak, history does. And it says this: when debt threatens the system, rules bend. When instability moves upward, intervention comes. When it stays at the bottom, it's usually ignored. Modern societies endlessly talk about free markets, justice, opportunity. Ancient Babylon was more honest. The law didn't claim everyone played the same game. It told you exactly where you stood. It told you who would pay when things went wrong. It didn't sell the illusion that morality governs money. It admitted that money governs morality. That honesty made the system durable. Predictability creates participation. Participation creates growth. Growth creates power. Hammurabi understood this. If people believe the rules are stable, even if harsh, they keep producing, trading, lending. Chaos doesn't come only from inequality. It comes from uncertainty, not knowing whether tomorrow's loss will destroy you entirely or be absorbed by the system. Modern finance still operates on this principle. The difference is that today the rules are buried in legal language, regulatory frameworks, and balance sheets most people will never read. In Babylon, the rules were carved in stone and displayed publicly. There was no illusion, no myth of justice, only structure. Here is the part most people don't want to hear. Hammurabi's system worked, not because it was fair, not because it was kind. It worked because it accepted something most societies prefer to deny. Every economic system is built around deciding who bears risk when reality breaks the plan. The Code of Hammurabi didn't claim losses could be eliminated. It didn't promise prosperity for all. It did something far more dangerous and far more effective. It made loss predictable. And when loss is predictable, power can plan around it. Financial freedom doesn't come from believing the system is fair. It comes from understanding how it actually works, from knowing where risk flows, from recognizing which rules bend under pressure and which do not. That is the real legacy of the Code of Hammurabi. Not revenge, not cruelty, but this insight: when money enters a society, power must choose between chaos and control. And control always comes through rules that protect the system before they protect individuals. The first civilization learned this lesson the hard way. Every civilization since has relearned it, usually in crisis. History doesn't repeat. It refines. Tools change. Language evolves. But the structure remains. Debt still binds. Rules still decide outcomes. Power still manages collapse before it manages justice. Those who understand this aren't surprised when systems bend to save themselves. They expect it. Because the oldest financial rule on earth was never about right or wrong. It was about survival. And 4,000 years later, we are still playing by it. Money doesn't speak. History does. And Hammurabi's stone is still speaking, if anyone is listening.